This game has completely gotten away from Miami.
This historic 2020 NBA championship belongs to the Los Angeles Lakers.
Organization want their respect. Laker Nation want their respect. I want my damn respect too.
Some respect on his name. Huge congrats to Laker Nation. It's time to talk odds, though, when it comes to the Lakers repeating their NBA title. Caesars Casino and Sportsbook has the Lakers as favorites to win their 18th title ahead of the Clippers, Bucks, and Warriors. Big Perk back here with us. He knows what it takes to win a championship. And guys, obviously this one was unusual, right? They didn't have to face the Clippers in the Western Conference Finals. KD's sidelined. Steph and Clay weren't in it, so it's going to be a completely different deal next time around. I can't wait for it, Max. Which team do you think is actually going to be the biggest challenge for the Lakers repeating?
I think it's probably this upcoming season going to be the Warriors. And I don't mean the Warriors as presently constructed. I expect there to be some changes. Let's assume that Steph and Clay return as most of what they are. I think it's unreasonable when a guy's coming off a catastrophic injury to say he's going to hit the ground running exactly the same as he's ever been. But if they're even most of what they are, that is a great backcourt, an MVP caliber player, and the best pure shooter maybe ever who can also do other things in Clay. Right? Like, the opponent wants Clay putting the ball on the floor and making decisions because that's not his strength. But he can do that better than most guys who can shoot like him. And clearly, he can defend. That's those two. Draymond Green. Now, they don't have Iguodala anymore. And obviously, KD's gone. But they do have Wiggins, who is a better defensive player with them than he had been in the past. And Pascal, who is a promising young player, and lots of draft capital. I expect the Warriors to make a move, and I think it'll be a big one. That's what the front office has done, to bring in a major piece to supplement what they already have. Let's not forget, the reason primarily in recent years LeBron was criticized for winning in the East was not just that the West had more good teams, but the West had the Warriors. They didn't have the Warriors this season. Here they come again, and I think they will represent the biggest obstacle.
Yeah, we'll see what the Warriors can do, but that's like a lot of what ifs. Like maybe they're going to be able to compile their draft capital to get a trade or pick up somebody to add to make to pair next to Steph, because I think we'd all agree that Clay and Steph are not the same as LeBron and AD. I think you can look over to the Eastern Conference and assuming we're all assuming things about injuries and whatnot, assuming that Durant comes back close to what he was. I think we can't overlook how impressive the Nets are going to be next year. And assuming that Steve Nash is going to be able to coach that team, which we've seen first-time coaches come in and be able to figure it out pretty quickly. Everything I've heard about Steve Nash, he's a pretty smart guy, and obviously the team like and respect him. And then you got Kyrie. I know he is on the outs with a lot of people because of some of his words off the court and some of his antics in the locker room, but the man can ball, and KD is extremely versatile. We don't take into account how good he is on defense because of how unstoppable almost he is on offense. So I think that team is pretty good. And we haven't even gotten to Dinwiddie and LeVert. And if you want to go big, they got Jared Allen to protect the rim. Like, this team is pretty loaded. And assuming Steve Nash can figure out how to coach them, they can make it through the East in showdown against LeBron. Because in the A block, I think it was a B block, Max, you said guys with 2 top 10 players are going to be in the finals and win that. I think the Nets have that.
Top 5, yeah. They have 2 top 10.
Well, Dominique, I hate to say it, but I got to agree with Max on this one. And I'm going with the Golden State Warriors. Those 2 light-skinned brothers down there in the Bay Area, Klay Thompson and Steph Curry. Steph Curry, with all this rest, he's going to come back and tear the league up. When you look at this guy, you're talking about a generational talent that changed the game of basketball, and a guy that don't rely on his athleticism, that could play at this level for at least the next 10 years. Warriors. When you look at Klay Thompson, yes, I know he had an ACL injury, but that's not going to stop him. He has more than enough. He had more than enough time to recover, get healthy. He took the full season off for a reason, and now he's rested. He's going to come back, and we know what type of sniper he is. When you look at Draymond is now going to be able to be that guy that's that fourth option, third option, that defensive player of the year, that versatile defender that could switch 1 through 5 pick and rolls, that could be the facilitator on the other end, which he's a hell of a passer, and he's going to anchor that defense. Draymond Green is the heart and soul of that team. And then you add Andrew Wiggins, a guy that's a Harrison Barnes 2.0 in my opinion, a guy that have a career average of 21 points a game, and now he don't have to be the number 1 pick anymore. He has so much pressure of living up to the hype of being a number 1 pick. He don't have to do that on the Golden State Warriors. Now he could be that third option guy where he could go out there and put up 18 or 19 points a game, and that's just enough to get them over the hump. Defensively, he's going to buy in because now he have leadership. He have that mentorship. He have a guy like Mike Brown and Ron Adams who are on the bench as those defensive coaches that's going to take him under his wing. And then and Max harped on this. Pascal is a guy that is a rising star, I believe, in my eyes in this league that could come in and give him production. And on top of that, they have a guy that nobody give credit to, and that's Looney. Looney is an underrated big in this league that I think is battle-tested. He could do it on both ends of the floor. He brings what that Golden State Warriors team need to the table for as a big, a guy that runs the floor, could switch 1 through 5. He complements Draymond Green very well in that 4-5 tandem. So I'm looking at this Golden State Warriors, and I'm going with the Splash Brothers, Draymond Green and Steve Kerr, to be the biggest threat to the Los Angeles Lakers next year.
All right, Perk. You normally come in hot, and you normally got a lot of enthusiasm, and you are shutting everybody down. But I knew you was wrong when you said the first words that came out your mouth was, "I agree with Max." I know that didn't feel good coming out. I know you was uncomfortable saying, "I agree with Max," and I know when you said it, you had to question yourself because it's real hard. I understand all the points you guys make about the Warriors. However, you both are predicating this on the idea that they are going to make some sort of move. Nobody here, I don't believe, thinks that the Warriors are a championship team as currently constructed. I think that is true of the Nets. So you think the Warriors right now, as they are constructed, without making any moves, can win the title?
All right.
Yeah,
hold up 1 second.
They have Draymond Green, Klay Thompson, Steph Curry, and then they added Andrew Wiggins. That's right. 4 guys that I believe is a great core guys with a couple additions in free agency. They don't have to make a monster move in free agency or a monster trade or a blockbuster trade to get back to where they are. They still have their core pieces.
Couple things. If you want to just talk about as is, I might take the Nuggets in that case. Another year of experience, 2 MVP caliber players when it counts most. And if Porter Jr. can stay healthy, forget about him on defense because he doesn't play it. But offensively, that dude is real talented. But I want to talk about your pick, the Brooklyn Nets. Everyone's assuming KD comes back as most of himself. That would be one of the only times in the history of medicine that a guy came off an Achilles and came back as even most of himself. That is exceedingly rare. I don't think that we can just count on KD being the first guy ever who comes back as himself after an Achilles injury, number 1. Number 2, Kyrie Irving's talent is off the charts and his skill to match, which is very different. People use that interchangeably, but the work he's put into to refine his talent so that he can technically do all the things he needs to do is also practically historically unmatched. Then why, and he's a killer in crunch time too, then why is it teams have generally performed better without him, right? So those 2 issues stop me, but especially KD's health stops me from pointing to Brooklyn. KD's going to have to demonstrate that he's at least 80% of his former self, because that almost never happens after an Achilles.
Yeah, I mean, what are you pointing to? People keep pointing to Dominique Wilkins like that was decades ago. Like, I don't think that it's fair to assume that KD can't get back close to that. When we last saw KD, we were questioning whether he was better than LeBron, and he was outplaying LeBron, granted on a better team, but he was outplaying LeBron in the finals, when they won the championship that year before he got hurt. Like, KD is as good as it is in this league. If LeBron did not exist, we might be talking about the KD era of the NBA. So I think we are too
Go back to Dominique. What?
You're talking about the Achilles injury?
What about Dominique? You're saying that people are pointing. You're saying people are pointing to Dominique coming back.
No, you point that as your example.
No, I'm saying Dominique. Right. Yeah, of what? Of what?
Of someone not being able to come back in full strength from Achilles injury.
Timeout. No, timeout. Dominique came back. He's an example of one of the few who came back as at least most of himself. Most guys since Dominique haven't done that. Like, give me examples of guys who had an Achilles and came back and you say, yup, that's the same dude. It's almost no one. People are just rushing past this. This is why I said he should not be playing when it was obvious it was the Achilles and they were saying, no, it's the calf. I said he's jeopardizing the rest of his prime by playing in this finals. And that's what